Well, it's now the 20th of May, nearly a month since we made our first report on the mysterious H1N1 swine flu virus. Let's take a look at the latest news report to see what the news media is saying in regard to this virus.
There's been a sharp upsurge in the incidence of swine flu worldwide. The World Health Organization says more than 10,000 cases have now been confirmed in 40 countries. They include 4 new cases here, but the federal government's assuring Australians that there's no cause for alarm.
A Melbourne school is on swine flu alert after one of its pupils contracted the virus. The 9-year-old boy recently returned to school after a trip to the US. His classmates and family are being quarantined and treated with antiviral drugs. 2 of the boy's older brothers subsequently also tested positive.
Another interesting occurrence that has occurred since the outbreak of the swine flu virus has been a rush to buy the designer anti-flu drug Tamiflu. And why were the public rushing to buy Tamiflu when the World Health Organization still freely admit even now that they don't have enough information to formulate an effective cure for the virus? If you're not already aware, Tamiflu has an interesting history. Designed by Gilead Sciences, Tamiflu was on-sold to the Swiss pharmaceutical company Roche, who made billions of dollars in profit out of the avian bird flu scare. But who owns the intellectual property rights to Tamiflu? Well, according to the New York Times and other sources, the intellectual property rights to Tamiflu are still owned by Gilead. And who is the former chairman of Gilead, with potentially still $25 million worth of shares in the company? The former US Defence Secretary, Donald Rumsfeld. It seems the term conflict of interest does not seem to apply in American politics.
We may well expect additional cases from this case. It is no need to panic. As I said, we can manage this.
As Victoria confirmed its first case, another was diagnosed in New South Wales, a woman infected while travelling in the US. She's no longer considered infectious, but health officials are contacting fellow passengers on her flight back to Australia. Another New South Wales case was detected earlier this month. The Prime Minister says the emergence of swine flu here was always inevitable, but health authorities are well prepared.
The health authorities take any such development seriously and are deploying all necessary assets to deal with this challenge.
Taiwan's first swine flu case happens to be an Australian doctor who flew in from New York via Hong Kong. He'd been working on a cruise liner in the US as the ship's doctor. Japan now has more than 200 cases, and the number of infections is also up in Latin America. The UN chief continues to urge vigilance and global solidarity in dealing with the outbreak.
Solidarity in the face of this particular outbreak must mean that all have access to drugs and vaccines.
But the World Health Organization concedes a swine flu vaccine is still months away.
There are people who say, well, why don't you make the vaccine right now? Because we don't know enough. We don't know enough about the strain.
The WHO alert level remains at 5 out of 6, indicating an imminent pandemic. While most cases globally have been mild, the virus can be deadly and has killed at least 80 people. Vesna Nazor, World News Australia.
In my first swine flu video, made quite soon after news of the virus became public, I suggested the virus was potentially man-made because of the strange combination of flu viruses it contained. Recently, former Australian National University virology researcher Adrian Gibbs agreed with me, saying genetic markers suggested the combination of genes in the virus were not a natural event. The World Health Organization responded by saying Mr. Gibbs had a credible theory. Shortly after that, they realised his theory was causing anxiety, so they got some other scientists to study the theory and then claimed that the theory did not stand up to their scrutiny. How long did they spend scrutinising it? About 1 weekend. Complications from ordinary influenza killed approximately 36,000 Americans last year, 6,000 to 9,000 a year in the UK, and many thousands more worldwide. Please keep in mind that the viral research industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Even if swine flu was designed in a laboratory and escaped accidentally or otherwise, there is no way any government on earth would admit it. The damage to their economy would be catastrophic. So, the reality is, it is unlikely we will ever know the true source of the swine flu virus.